and it's Monday, November 24th. It's a relatively short meeting. There are only two petitions on for tonight. And the first petition is 1815 Middlesex Street. The second petition is 301 Chelmsford Street. And when I call the petitions, anybody interested in speaking or addressing the board, please make sure that you step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and also write your name and address in so we don't have to interrupt you. So we'll get right going on the agenda. The first one is 1815 Middlesex Street. The petition is for a special permit and a variance for signs. The applicant is CVS Pharmacy, Inc., care of Hazelwood Hopkins, and the petition is to allow a freestanding internally illuminated signage and reader board for CVS and Bank of America according to section 6.3.2B and 6.3.212 of the zoning ordinance. Would a representative of that petition please address the board? Welcome, ma'am.
And I work with Hazel Hopkins, and we're representing CVS for the sign changes.
Okay.
The application asks to replace the existing internally illuminated CVS and Bank of America sign. The existing sign totals 41 square foot with total signage, and the replacement will equal 59 square foot total signage, incorporating a 20 square foot electronic reader board into the new structure. The CVS panel and the Bank of America panel are identical sizes to the existing sign, so the extra square footage comes from the addition of the electronic reader board. The sign will be lower than the existing sign, and it will be placed at the same setback as the existing. The planting area and the planter box will be rebuilt, and new landscaping, it'll be spiffied up there. I do have a representative, the district manager from CVS, and the store manager here, if there are any questions about the operating procedure of the store, things of that nature, if I can't answer any questions regarding that. A few notes about the electronic reader board for CVS. It's a black background with red lettering. It can be pre-programmed to change at any time interval, 1 time per minute, 2 times per minute. So if there's a restriction or a condition of the timing of the message, how often the message can change, that's flexible. The CVS reader boards have no animation, there's no flashing, there's no moving, there's no scrolling. There's a message that comes on the board, and it stays for the predetermined amount of time, and then the message changes. So you won't see any fireworks, you won't see any pictures, you won't see any color changes, things of that nature.
So in other words, if you say CVS open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., it stays like that for a period of time, and then occasionally it changes, but it doesn't flash, it doesn't run?
Correct. If you had the board here, the messages won't come in like this. They won't scroll down the screen. They won't pop at you. A message will appear. It stays stagnant for the predetermined amount of time, and then it just fades into a new message.
How much time would you say? Are we talking about, once every 4 hours? Are we talking about?
I believe the standard for CVS is 1 time per minute for the standard board, for a standard programmed board. So it would be one message, it would stay there for a minute, and then a new message would come up the next minute.
So every hour there's 60 different messages, is that?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
There can be.
Okay.
It also can be used for public service, time and temperature, amber alerts, of things of that nature. There have been some agreements we've made between the client and between CVS and the cities in some instances if you want to use it for a time and temperature or for an amber alert or something of that nature. They've looked at this site and they saw that the sign is pretty outdated, so this is an opportunity for them to modernize their look, get an updated look. Like I said, spiffy up that planter area a little bit and make that corner more presentable.
Any other CVS's in this area have that?
I don't believe any in Lowell.
CVS and April.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else, ma'am?
Nope, just to reiterate though, I believe that we're asking only for a special permit for the reader board and for the internal illumination and a variance to exceed the size allowed for the sign, the entire structure.
Okay.
Do you have anything like to add? Oh, anything like to add?
Feel free to step up and address the board, sir.
Steve Withy, District Manager, CVS Pharmacy. Just a quick comment on the reader board where you made the statement that it could say change, multiple times within a hour, I should say. A lot of the standard system is you usually put 3 to 4, headings on this, so you're not going to see that many changes. So, example, if you had 3 items on sale, it'd be locked in for a certain period, so it wouldn't be multiple changes, every minute. That's really not typically standard for us. So.
Okay, we did get some feedback from the design department, and their recommendation is that we do not approve the reader board. They just think it's a distraction in that area, with a busy intersection, just to make you aware of that. I'm not sure if you were made aware of that before this, but yeah, that's why I figured I'd tell you. We get that sort of last minute, but I'll read it to you. This is from Diane Trad, who is the Chief Design Planner of the City of Lowell. This property is located in the Regional Retail District. I support a special permit for the internal illumination of the sign. However, I do not recommend approval of electronic message board. This type of sign would create a distraction to motorists, especially in this high-traffic area. So, because she did that, I'll give you a chance to address that if you'd like. You have to step up.
Okay, all I would say is that, and though I know each case is determined on its own merit, that there are several reader boards in the city, and especially down the street, there's one at the Speedy Oil on Middlesex Street that was approved. I do know that that's a common comment from people, that it's a distraction, but we feel since the message is a stagnant message, which means it does not flash, it doesn't move, that it's a message that appears on the board and stays stagnant, that it's no less a distraction than if it was a manual reader board. It's just use of a new technology. It's safer because the staff people don't have to come out and manually change the message with their hands. They don't need to be out there with a bucket with the letters to put it up. By definition, if the message stays up for longer than a minute, which we can determine what time, how you want the timing to be, that it's no different than if you were to approve a manual board at that location.
Almost like a changeable sign.
Correct. Correct. I don't want to harp on it, but the technology is so new that we're having these discussions about definitions of moving and animation and flashing. And some boards do animate and do flash and do move, and they're in your face, and the colors change and the intensity changes, and there's pictures and there's lights. But by nature of what CVS is trying to do, that board is not that type of board. So I would disagree that it would cause more of a distraction than if you were to approve a manual board at that location.
Is there any public good that we could, the city could get from a board like that? I mean, I know you addressed the temperature, amber alert at the time, basic things like that, but.
Yeah. Well, you could use it in that capacity. The city could ask that it be programmed if there was an emergency in the city, weather advisory, things of that nature. They could be programmed, and that gets worked out between the store manager and a contact at the city. I have done that in a CVS in Charlton, where now they're linked with the police department, and if the police department feels that there's something deemed necessary that it's appropriate to put on, they can use the reader board to do that.
Okay. Right, before we open up the public, does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. Did you say the overall height is going to be shorter?
Correct.
Yep.
The existing sign is 18 feet 4 inches.
Yep.
And the replacement sign
Is it 15?
is 15 feet.
Okay.
Sorry.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Okay, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wishing to address the board in opposition of this petition? In opposition? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed, and I will open up to the board for deliberation. We'll start with you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like the presentation that the petitioners put together. The height, I think, is a key ingredient. As far as the reader board, I think the petitioner is right. You know, we've granted some other reader boards. I do like the idea that they have of, I guess, freezing the display for a time that maybe we can deliberate on and come up with a set, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, whatever we come up with. But I really like the idea of the petitioner that they've come up with that, because I'm sure you're fully aware that intersection is one of the busiest intersections in the city of Lowell. Obviously a good place to advertise, but I like the idea of the setting a time frame for the reader board and would support that, but I would like to hear from the rest of the members about
Okay.
the timing. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Jack?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Mr. Bailey on a couple of points. First, not just the composition of this board, but boards prior to our tenure have also supported and allowed reader boards, some of which I'm not sure I would have supported, which are the ones that are animated. There are several throughout the city. I think we know where they are. I think two things, points that Mr. Bailey brought out that I agree. The fact that the sign is lower, and most importantly, the fact that the sign can be modified as to the time of the display, and the fact that it dissolves, I think would be far less of a distraction. I'm not sure what kind of parameters and conditions we can set addressing that, but I would be interested in hearing any suggestions to that effect. That being said, if those conditions were acceptable by the petitioner, I think I would then support the petition. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Vesna?
I do agree with the point that was mentioned by Mr. Bailey and echoed by Mr. Knott, that is the fact that the sign is much lower than the existing sign, the higher, I mean. And also I like the fact that this is no flashing, no scrolling down or flash all over the places. It's a changing frequency. With that, I like those 2 points. However, I do like to see the frequency, the changing, instead of every minute, maybe increases to every 2 minutes, so that you see less of what being changed is, so that there be less of distraction if there's any at all. But I think this is the right location for it. I like also the offer that CBS and its managers propose, that is for the city law enforcement to use in the events that there is they need the message to be shown on that readable board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And I think these, if you want to call them reader boards or message boards, is basically, you know, we've got to catch up to the changing times, and I think that's what's happening. I think the old traditional signs are being replaced by these, you know, more modern technology, and for a lot of different reasons. It looks a lot better, in my opinion, than when somebody goes up there and changes letters and a letter falls off, and we all have to look at a word misspelled for 6 months or a word missing. So I think that that's just a symptom of a changing technology. I don't find it a distraction, but, you know, I think we learn as we go, and I think most of the board would probably wish we didn't approve certain boards that are the ones that flash and jump out at you. And this doesn't appear to be a situation like that. I don't see that helps a business, because it seems it's more aggravating than anything else. But I think with CVS, it's you know, obviously a company that's been in the city, invested in the city for a long time. It's a very minor request compared to what you know, what they've done in the city over the years. But I guess my question would be, also what's changing is the city has to deal with these boards, so the city oftentimes looks to see if there's a benefit to the city at all, a benefit to the neighborhood. And one thing I would suggest or request, and if you can, I'm going to ask you, so you might as well step up to the podium. There's been a situation like this in the past on a different scale, but would you be willing to advertise major city events on that for a period of time. In other words, we have the Winterfest, this folk festival in the summer, and some other major events. And I think that, that is a highly congested area. And if there's a benefit to the city and to the neighborhood there, I think it makes it easier for us to approve something like that. And I don't see that, it's also being a good neighbor and
Yep.
a good business person in the city, in my opinion. So I don't know if you need to discuss that with these gentlemen, or?
No, well, I've been told from this project, working on this project in several locations, that CVS Corporate is open to that, so that's something that can be worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have to say about it. I would be willing, under those conditions and what's been mentioned by the others, I'd be willing to support this, and I think it's important that it does, I agree with Vezina, that it's, every 1 minute, but I think you made a representation, that's what it can do, it's probably not what you do. I don't think it does any good to change everything every 1 minute, but I don't know anything about marketing, so maybe it does. But I think it looks better if it's every couple of minutes or even longer. So I don't know what really you're advertising. Is it mostly the hours or
No,
what you're selling?
sale-
Or?
What's on sale,
Okay.
usually the specials and what's on sale. And as Steve said, they would normally choose 2 or 3 products and run that continuously. So you wouldn't see 60 different messages, you would see maybe a handful of sale messages of 5 products, and those would run continuously throughout the day. So if Coke was on sale for $2.99, you'd see sale Coke $2.99 several times throughout the day, because it would repeat itself.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And again, I don't see it as a huge distraction, especially in that area where the traffic is kind of at a standstill a lot during certain hours. Okay, I think that's all I have to say. Kevin?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my fellow board members. I think the lower profile sign height-wise is positive. I'm not in favor of animated signs, but something that could be just periodically updated like this, I would suggest maybe a minimum two-minute refresh or something like that, and maybe consider up to a distinct number of messages per hour, different messages. Sounds like you only have a rotation of a few. But I think the combination of those two would help. But CVS has been a great tenant in the city and a great asset, and I think this is net positive.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I guess one other thing I just thought of, we always mention, but we didn't. I think there is one sign, at least I think it stays open all night. And what is your plan for shutting this sign down? I mean, my guess would be it goes with the hours of operation.
Is that?
Oh, it's 24-hour store, so
24-hour locations usually run at 24 hours a day.
And that is a 24-hour location, is that correct? That is a 24-hour location.
Okay. I guess my only concern with that is if it reflects into a neighbor's home who's sleeping at those hours. I mean, I'm trying to think of what would be around there, who it would affect.
Yeah. I can tell you, we had that question. I don't have a specific lumen number, but I can tell you that the sign is designed to dim in contrast to the brightness. So, and at night, it dims at night, so it's not overly bright.
I guess if we asked you to shut it off, it would give the appearance that your store weren't open.
Right, because the signs themselves, the CVS panel and the Bank of America panels stay, are those on 24 hours?
Those signs are regular signs on the front on at night anyway. They probably actually illuminate brighter than this sign would.
The big red CVS, you mean those things? Okay.
So I mean, just the location of the building, it just doesn't warrant any, so, people actually being exposed to light at night.
Okay. All right, I've got no further questions. Anybody else? Follow-up? No, Rick's all set, yeah. Okay, so we have a request for a special permit and variance. We'll take the special permit first. Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve the special permit.
Okay,
Is this for the Rita sign? Did you establish the time frame for the?
right, let's talk about the conditions.
The fact that they open 24 hours, do we need to make a condition of the time frame?
I think like we just discussed, it might be difficult to do that
Yeah.
because it would look like they're not open, and I think what you said is that it dims and it's not, they have the CVS signs that are already up there, so I don't think there's a real advantage to having them closed, but I think maybe we should more specifically define the benefit to the city as far as ads to advertise. If you want to step up to the board again, I'm sorry.
I think how we would handle that is you could just put some sort of recommendation or condition that the store, that site will work together with an identified person in the city, should there be an event or notice that they would wish to.
Okay, I think what we've done in the past is we put a condition on that you work with the city manager's office, somebody designated from the city manager's office, in order to coordinate the advertising of major city events.
Yep.
I think is everybody happy with that? Is that something that, I think that's what we did for
Okay.
the last
Yep.
situation like this, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit with conditions that the petitioner work with the event coordinator for the city in the events that we have, events such as Folk Festival, Winterfest, and whatnot, that they will maybe, allow the city to have an ad on it. Thank you.
Okay. I would just say that you agree that you will allow that. I don't want to.
I agree, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so you need a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Sorry to ask again, what's the frequency of the changes on the reader board? Is it 1 minute, 2 minutes?
Well,
Is there a
I
condition?
think what we talked about, no more than once every 2 minutes is, I
Okay,
think that's a
that's
condition.
fine.
Okay,
Right,
that's
Maybe
fine.
we didn't say that, you're right, Bill. I did not. Okay,
Yep. All right.
so the message changeable once every no more than once every 2 minutes. What we'd like to see is even longer, but that's, we'll leave that up to your business decision, whoever makes those decisions.
Okay.
So why don't we,
Should we explicitly state no animation, Mr. Chairman?
I think we should, because, we don't know what's going to happen with this, so just to be cautious. The three conditions we're talking about now is, one, that the applicant agrees to work with the city manager's office, the special events coordinator, to advertise major city events. The second condition we've discussed is that the,
Doesn't change more than 2 minutes.
that the sign will not be changeable any more than once every 2 minutes,
And even longer, Mr. Chairman, like you said, if you could.
and that the sign is not an animated sign or a flashing sign,
I agree.
or a scrolling sign.
Correct. I agree.
Okay. All right, so it's about as clear as we're going to get it. So, another motion, I guess we'll start over.
I restate the motion to approve the special permit with conditions that the petitioners will work with the special event coordinator for the city in the events that we have the special events, to have that air on the reader board. Second, that is the no animations, no flashing on the billboard. Third will be that no change less than every 2 minutes. The
Sec-
changing.
Second motion.
Okay, and we need a roll call, please, Stephanie.
Mr. Kavanaugh?
Approve with conditions?
Mr. D'Angelo?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Dillon?
Approve with condition.
Mr. Knox?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Gary?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, and we'll just have the record reflect that we only need the 5 votes, so the 5 that voted the 5 voting members will approve that. So now we need the variance. So we need a motion on the variance. Do we have a motion on the variance? I think what we probably talked about with the variance is to, the special permit was for the reader board. I guess this is to allow the freestanding internally illuminated signage. So do we have a motion on that?
I make a motion to allow the variant for, as requested.
Second.
Okay, I need a roll call, please.
Approve.
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 Okay, so you've been approved unanimously, ma'am, both the special permit and the variance. We do need you to come up and just sign this plan saying you agree to those conditions. If you could sign that and date it, and just hand that over to Stephanie, but please walk behind the tables. There's a wire that you'll absolutely trip over if you go that way. Any way you want under here. Thank you, ma'am. Great. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next petition is 301 Chelmsford Street. This is a petition for a variance. The applicant is ATJ Realty LLC. Petition to raise the existing structure and construct a new commercial building within 15 feet of the USF residential zoning district according to sections 4.5.4 and 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Hal Chuba. I'm the principal engineer with Chuba Engineering Group. We're consulting professional engineers doing business in Wareham, Massachusetts. I'm here representing the applicant, TJ Realty, on this application. And with me also is Johnny Caruso, who's from the applicant. So if you have any questions in terms of operations to the store, or he can answer this question. I would like to take a couple of minutes just to briefly present
Sure.
the case, and then we'll open it for questions. Okay. I have a few boards here. I'm not sure if we're going to be using them, or if I can set up somewhere where we can, or
Yeah, you know, maybe, I don't know if we have that board up there, but if you want to put it right here in front of us, so at least we can see it. I think everybody has copies,
Sure.
and I think everybody's probably had a chance to review it, so,
I believe you have a reduced copies of the plans, right?
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay, so for the public, I'm not sure if
Right.
the camera or.
Mr. Camacho will set it up right there, just so people can see it. It's fine right there, Bob, I think, it's, as long as it's on. I apologize, we usually have a board you can put that on, that's a lot easier.
I do have one, but this is fine.
Yeah, this is, I think everybody's reviewed it pretty closely.
The subject property is located at 301 Chelmsford Street in the city of Lowell. The site measures approximately 12,345 square feet and is located in the neighborhood business district. I believe the application says it's in the regional retail. I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference. In both cases, we need a relief from the setback from the residential district. The property is bound to the north by an urban district, that's the residential district in the back, to the south by Chelmsford Street, to the east and west by Liberty Street and existing businesses. Access to the property is via an existing driveway off Chelmsford Street. Currently, there's an existing one-story building on the property, approximately 2,650 square feet in size, and this building does not meet both front and rear setback requirements of the Lowell zoning ordinances. Existing front setback is 1.5 feet from Liberty Street and versus the 8-foot requirement, and the rear setback is 3 feet from the residential zone lot versus the 15-foot required. I would like to add that the non-conforming rear side of the building measures approximately 115 feet long. Now, with what you have with this application, the owner of the property proposes to demolish the existing building, the non-conforming structure, and construct a new 2-story building that would be more conforming to the Lowell zoning ordinances. And the new structure is going to be 2,100 square foot in size per foot per floor footprint, which is approximately 20% smaller than the existing building that we have on the property. The new building would meet the front setback. However, the rear setback from the residential district would not meet the 15-foot setback, but it will be 4 feet versus the 3. So what we feel that this is more conforming than the existing structure, and also the width of the building in the back is reduced from 115 feet to 42 feet. So it's being reduced by approximately 60% of the existing building. The new building we believe the new building is more attractive in terms of, I have pictures of what the existing building looks like. It's more fitting to the area, and it would be a great beneficial to the area with this project. So we kindly ask the board tonight to approve this application. And again, like I said, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
So you want this board to believe that what you're going to build is more attractive than this?
I have the pictures, so.
It's been an eyesore for a long time in the city. I mean, I think,
I do have a rendering of the elevations of the proposed building also. I can,
right, do you have a architect's rendition, rough sketch of what the building's going to look like? Sure, okay. Right, it just looks better than in our smaller copy. It just looks better there, that you can see. Okay, and it meets all the ADA?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it meets everything there.
So we have a handicap parking on the site plan, and the sidewalk will meet ADA. Fire, that's why if you look at the elevation, you'll see a set of stairs from the second floor, 2 means of egress, and it's going to meet all the applicable building codes, Massachusetts building codes. And
It looks like a good project. I mean, it definitely looks like something that it's going to absolutely improve that whole entire area, or that at least that block. Do you have anything else to say, sir?
no, not really.
Okay, so just stand by in case there's any questions.
you.
Anybody else like to address the petitioner? Bill?
Yeah, just, Mr. Commissioner, the comment made by a petitioner, whether it was neighborhood business or regional retail, which one is it? Is he correct in stating,
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you would call it, except that at the bottom, the first floor appears to be more or less a variety store type of, or a small grocery store. And the second floor appears to be offices, but I don't know what kind of offices, and I'm not sure that this would be in compliance with ADA requirements for accessibility, which would be another issue altogether.
So that might create an issue, sir. If you-
Right. Let me clarify this. The offices are not public offices. The offices would be used by the applicant who operates the gas station business, and that's what they use in the offices on the second floor. So it's not for the public. It's not a public office where it's going to be rented to as an office space.
Okay, so where the gas station is, it's going to be this building, like a variety store? Is that what?
Well, yes. I take it back. Not the gas station. It's the variety store. The owner who's operating the variety store will conduct his office on the second floor. So.
Okay.
So it's part of the same business. It's not a separate business.
Okay, how does that affect it, Bob, if you know? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot because it's...
If it's not open to the public, then accessibility isn't required. Although I do notice in one of these offices, it's stating that there's one of the offices is labeled as receptionist.
Well,
I guess I would have to look at a more definitive plan as to the exact,
Okay.
anything that requires, anything that allows the public to have access to has to be AAB compliant.
Right. But if this were approved tonight, that would be he would have to work with you to make sure that he's ADA compliant.
Correct.
Or that he would have to prove to you, to your satisfaction, that he's not using it for the public.
Exactly, and just as the variety store down below, the counters and certain things have to be compliant as well.
Right, it
Height
could
of
be
certain
storage
counters
area,
or-
it could be storage area up there for a lot of your bulk items and...
That's correct.
Okay,
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
You would have to go for a variance from the ADA. He would have to apply to the ADA for a variance. It's a two-story building, so he'll have to either put an elevator in, or he'll have to get a variance.
Okay, let me, if the board feels it's more appropriate to put a condition on the permit that the second floor will not be open to the public or available to the public, will be part of the same use. And then if ADA variance is required, it would be this would come up at the building permit stage.
Right.
You can't get a building permit if you need an ADA, if it's not an ADA requirement. So, I mean, as far as the setback requirement, this is what we're really looking for, the relief from the setback.
and the rest you would have to deal with on your own?
Exactly.
Okay. Do you see a problem with that, Rick?
No, but he's still gonna have to get a variance. I'm dealing with one right now in the town. Same situation, but then it didn't work out, so now they wanna use the second floor. They had to put an elevator in, they were upset that they didn't. They were given a building permit from the building department, and nobody made them do anything. Now the uses change because they can't either rent it, or it becomes public accessible by the public. They end up with the building department ends up with a headache. So we don't make that determination, and they should not be allowed to go forward without getting one from the ADA. That way it protects the city, because the uses change, Mr. Chairman. It could be an office building today, it could be storage tomorrow, and then it could be, office building or a hair salon the next day, and that's when you need the ADA, and you have the problem with they come to the building department, I can't get into the building, what'd you guys do, so on. So it would need a variance.
I'd have to agree with Rick. That's probably the best way to approach it, because what the use is today could be different 10 years down the road. This would have a paper trail stating what it could not be used for, which should be a simple process for the applicant.
So I guess I'm confused. What would be the downfall to us approving this petition tonight that I think was unanimously approved by the planning board? Wouldn't he then have to go back and address those issues, or would it be up to him to seek his own variances for ADA?
He would. If all of a sudden the second floor became accessible to the public, he had the public up there at all, then he would have to be totally compliant. And that could be a major issue for him down the road.
Okay, we're on the record stating that, in the event that it's approved tonight, we're not approving any, obviously, we don't have this, it's beyond the scope of our authority to approve something for ADA. So he's looking for a variance on the setback. That's all that's in front of us. The rest would be his problem.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead,
You're saying, I don't think they've gone before planning board. Planning board, I believe, reviewed at their last meeting. I don't think they went through, you didn't go before planning board formally, did you?
No, I don't believe you need to go to the planning board on this project. It's an allowed use by right.
Okay, so they just did preliminary because...
Correct.
I'm looking at it, it says, all members voted in favor of approval of the variance.
Yeah.
So that must be, you submit your application and they review it without you presenting it.
They really didn't go through a formal review, I guess is what I'll call it. I just want to make sure you understand that. I just want to make sure through the petitioner that you didn't go before them formally, correct?
No, we didn't have a public hearing with the planning board.
And again, I don't think you wouldn't be required to, but do you want to address the issue about what if we approve it tonight, if there's a snarl with the building department, we want to make sure that the building department's clear that they...
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, you're approving, this is a relief from the setback. If we can't build the second floor, we can still build the building according to the layout that we have. Either we have to skip the second floor or get a variance from ADA, or the second floor could be used for storage. When if it's used for storage or portion of it, it's not open to the public. You don't need. It doesn't have to comply with ADA requirements. So basically, you're not approving the second floor here, and we can make sure if you feel you can put this as a condition to that you're not approving the use of the second floor. You're only giving a relief from the setback for the 15-foot required from a residential district.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments? Bill?
Yeah. Can you talk about what the business is going to be on the first floor? What
The
the
first floor is going to be like a convenience store, typically what you see in a regular convenience store, retail.
So a traditional convenience store?
I do have, I'm not sure if you have a floor layout on your packet. You do have, I thought we had a floor layout. So basically, it's a convenience store with the small, with the cooler and some convenience item that you see.
And
at
the entrance to the location, is the entrance, again, I think you gave us the same outline here. Storefront elevation, it looks like it would be the front of the building. Is that actually facing Chelmsford Street?
No, you have the elevation for Chelmsford Street. It doesn't face it. It faces the adjacent lot.
It faces towards the gas station?
To the gas station, correct.
Okay. How many employees do you anticipate having in the location?
About 2 employees.
2 employees?
Johnny? No, but I think he said 5 total, but at one time you will have 2 employees on shift.
Okay. And what's the hours of operation going to be?
24 hours? That's what I heard. I'm not sure if this requires any special permit from the from any board.
I'm sorry?
He said 24 hours.
24 hours? Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chairman, can I ask some questions about the parking?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, you provided in your plans 10 parking spaces?
Correct.
Is that only for the new building?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the building that's at the corner of Chelmsford and Liberty Street, is that owned by the same party?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So one of the things I noticed looks like you're providing 2 spaces, for instance, between the existing building at the corner and next to the, you're going to put in, looks like 4 dumpsters in there. That's currently an open area where somebody could actually drive through and exit?
Right.
Is that what's the plan for that?
Oh, we're going to close that curb cut on Liberty Street, so.
Okay. What is the parking for the residential unit on the corner? How many spaces are provided for that? Currently, I guess is what I need to ask. Because when I take a ride by there, I mean, as the chairman said, that area has pretty much been the same setup for many, many years. And when I looked at your plan, I was trying to figure out if the 10 spots were for the new business to go in there, which is, I mean, the way the layout is, looks great to me. I was trying to understand what happens with, I believe it's a 4 tenement, plus you got the business Queen's Pizza. What are you doing for parking for that area?
The applicant also operates the gas station that it's on the west side of the proposed building. And I believe he's got a long-term lease with Getty on this, and you've been operating the station for how long? 20 years. And they have space available for parking on that side. And also, if you look at the southwest corner of the lot, there's a small area there with the existing building on it. That area is also owned by the applicant. But at this time, I had numerous discussions with the zoning officer in the city, and I believe because this is a residential lot, you would have to go through city council for any proposed use on this lot. And at this time, We don't have that application, but potentially that could be additional parking for the applicant, but that's a separate application to the city.
Just so that you understand.
Yeah.
That parcel he's referring to cannot be used for the business that he's proposing, because it's residential. He would have to go to zoning, city council to have that particular area rezoned.
Where was that particular section, Bob, in relation to?
This is the new building here.
Oh, okay,
This is the building.
okay, that's like another storage area. It looks very.
Well, it's a building that's in really unsafe condition. It should come down.
It's a building, or is it the same as what we're looking
This is a
at?
garage, I believe, here.
It looks like the same type of setup, because I was curious if that was also owned by the same party.
Yeah,
And
my
that's in the other
understanding,
district, right?
my understanding, the owner does own all of this,
Okay,
but this particular parcel here is zoned residential
it's in
and
a
cannot
different-
be used for that.
right,
This would have to be rezoned.
okay.
And right now, there is a building on a structure that's in pretty bad shape. Probably should come down.
And I believe the applicant is willing to take that structure down, that's what he told me. And if this is gonna be, again, if the board feels that this could be a condition on the approval, he's willing to accept that too. Because I know there was some concerns with the neighbors, and we tried to talk to the neighbors too, and we were in contact with the neighbors to explain what we're doing here with the project, and they were in approval.
So if they were granted, Mr. Commissioner, if they were granted that area, that could provide them additional parking, is that correct or not correct?
If it were rezoned. As it is now, my understanding is that he can't use it for his business,
Right.
because it's residential.
And
But
then
if
we
it
would have
gets-
a spot zoning issue, I think, right?
Similar to the similar applicant we had several weeks ago with regards to an Asian restaurant, Oriental restaurant, and he owned a little parcel out back that was residential. He couldn't calculate that into his parking
Right.
requirements because it was zoned residential. The zoning would have to change.
Do you think there's sufficient parking here, sir, for what the business is proposed?
I think what we're dealing with here, we're dealing with this particular lot, technically.
Yeah.
And according to the zoning bylaws and the zoning requirements, we do have the required parking for this lot, for what's proposed. Now, also, as I mentioned before, the applicant operates that station, and he has been operating that station for 20 years, so it's not something that he just jumped on, and I think he might be operating that station for another 20 years. And there's plenty of room on that gas station for parking, too.
Right.
But,
Mr. Chairman, but I was specifically asking about the property on the corner of Chelmsford and Liberty Street. Is that also owned by the applicant?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what I was
Queen's
asking
Pizzas?
was, is that a 3 or a 4 tenement? I think it almost looks like a 4 tenement plus a business.
3 or 4? I'm not sure. 3 tenements or 4? Tenants? How many floors? How many tenants? 6. Huh? 6 tenants, but they're all employees. Most of his tenants are employed
employees?
by the applicant, so,
Okay, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know that, that's why I'm asking a
Okay.
question.
yeah.
That's why I'm trying to determine, you have a
Yes.
business on the corner. The gas station, to me, is a totally separate issue.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out, because I think also, Mr. Chairman, if the proposal was for like 4,200 square feet, right? Now, would that, Mr. Commissioner, there's 4,200, would that also, that must be including for him to have his 10 parking spots, is that correct?
Well, I was just about to ask him, what was the formula he used to come to 10 parking
Because he
spot
might
places?
be able to
No,
gain something.
because we use, only the first floor is being used for retail, and I believe retail is one per 900 square feet.
Right, so. if
So
you're-
that's the first floor, and you have the parking data is on the plan.
Yep.
So 2,100, basically you need 2 parking spaces, which for me, didn't make sense that you would need more parking spaces for an office that retail, but this is what the zoning bylaws call for. You need 1 per 900 square feet. So you need 2 parking for the retail, and you need 5 for the office. You need 7 parking spaces total, and we're providing 10.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, do we only consider the 2,100 square feet now for the parking variance? And if we do, that still gives you provided 10 spots here that should at least make up for the, I keep going back to that unit on the corner. I'm just trying to understand what the parking is between the unit on the corner plus the new business that they're proposing. I just want to make sure he has enough parking.
Yeah, what do you think, Bob? It seems like it's sufficient, but that's the way I'm looking at it, but
I haven't seen the application prior tonight because of the activity in my office, but I'd like to take a look at that, because I appreciate what Mr. Bailey's saying, because I don't know that the calculations have taken in for the pizza store, plus this other place, and then not to mention the second floor. I mean, the only calculations we're seeing here is what's needed for the new building. I don't see any calculations for an existing building.
But if we're going to consider the 2,100 square feet, I'm just asking, I guess I'm asking the question, Mr. Chairman, are we going to go with the 2,100 square?
I guess that's a question for the applicant. Is that what I mean, you don't want to be caught where you're in a situation where you're not compliant with the parking. I mean, I think everybody likes the idea of what you're doing here. I just think that we need a clear picture of what's going on.
And I think he also has availability, maybe some additional parking if he needed it with that section out back. I understand he's got to go before council, but
Yeah, and
I think you definitely have, we're very supportive of the project. I just want to make sure.
Trust me, we would love to make use out of that portion because it's dead space right now. But this is another issue for another board. So if maybe, with your help, maybe if this is approved, then we go back to the city council and say, this was approved for a variance, and then, but clearly here we're here for the variance from the setback relief, and also I need some guidance here maybe in terms of, I don't believe this is a variance case, because if I go back to your zoning bylaws, if we go to section 454, section 4.5, which is the non-conforming use and structure, right? Then we go to page 28, non-conforming structures. The Board of Appeal may award a special permit to reconstruct, extend, alter, or change a non-conforming structure in accordance with this section only if it determines that such reconstruction, extension, alteration, or change shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood. Again, we go to variance required, 454. It says the reconstruction, extension, or structural change of a non-conforming structure in such a manner as to increase an existing nonconformity or create a new nonconformity shall require a variance, which is not the case here. Provided, however, that the extension of an exterior wall at or along the same nonconforming distance within the required yard, which is the case here, because we're holding that setback in the back. So basically,
But you came before the board asking for a variance.
we did, because I think at that time it was so confusing that I couldn't get the right answer, but it says here that within the required yard shall require the issuance of a special permit from the Board of Appeals. So I'm just asking for guidance. I'm not saying that this is the case here, but what I'm saying, you could approve this as a special permit.
We can't do that because you didn't request a special permit.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that we can do it.
Okay.
Again, I think people are, generally favorable to what you want to do, but, maybe, I know I am. I like the project a lot. I hate what's there now, and I, work with any way I can to get this approved. I think maybe the best thing to do is give you a brief continuance, and then we can tell you I guess we can, before we do that, to be fair to you, we'll tell you what we're looking for.
Okay.
First of all, you've got to clarify what you're looking for, a special permit or variance, and if you need to get an attorney, then maybe that's the way to do it, and then argue your point there, because we can't give you legal advice from the board.
Okay.
And we can't, but one thing you definitely could do is work with the zoning officer.
Well, this is what, okay.
Okay, and you can clarify your application. It may require that you re-advertise. And then, from what I'm hearing, I would look into the issue of the second floor and whether or not, you really need that. And if you do, how are you going to present it to the board? Because, like I said, I think people like the idea of what you're doing there as opposed to what's there, but we need to know what we're approving. I think the issues that I've heard, it's an issue with the parking with Queens, and it seems to me that you have plenty of parking, but you don't want to approve something where you can't use it. It doesn't do you any good. It would be doing you a disservice to do that, but...
Mr. Chairman, to point out, if I may, one of the
Right.
photos submitted by the applicant shows a sign, reserved parking for Queen's Pizza, with 7 cars parked there currently. So there clearly is, that area is being used for the pizza location. So I think we do need to accommodate parking for that property, that area. That
So
would be
what
one
are you
concern.
saying? Do you think there's enough parking, or?
No, that would be one concern I would have, because we're essentially reducing the available parking space by the larger footprint of this building, at least the way it's currently proposed.
Do you want to clarify that if you can, or do you want to wait till a continuance? It's up to you.
Continue. Okay. Well, yeah, I understand. I mean,
Right.
you know,
This happens a
this
lot. I
issue-
mean,
no, I-
it's your first time before the board.
Yeah.
People like it, but we need to know we're
I
approving.
understand.
Not so
No,
much
they-
for us, but more for you, so you don't run into a snag down the road and then say, well, they approved it, and then,
Yeah.
just to help the applicant, is there any other issues that anybody sees that they may want addressed at the meeting for continuance?
Do we need a determination on the N, which, is it NB or is it RR? Does that,
Right, I guess from my point of view, the basic things, are you looking for a variance or a special permit, or do you even need either?
I will clarify, I will contact the zoning officer and clarify what we're looking for. But if this is gonna be a special permit, I think we might have to re-advertise.
Right.
Right.
Right,
But either case, we have to be back here in front of your board. So I'll contact the
Right.
zoning officer.
But I'm just
and
trying to make sure you
clarify
know
that.
the issues that we have, so you
Right.
don't come back
Well,
again
I
and we get...
understand. Mainly, your concerns are the parking and the second use, the second floor use.
Right, is it a...
And we'll have to address that.
Right, and the actual is the application accurate, or do you need to amend it and re-advertise?
Yes, I'll check into that, because I believe we're in the neighborhood business, not retail. That's something I have to check
Okay.
into. So.
And I can only speak for myself, but I'm generally supportive of what
No,
you're doing.
I understand. No,
But these things, the board members bring up points that need to be addressed, or you're gonna come back and say, well, you guys approved
Right,
it, and then
no,
we're in a
okay,
situation
yes.
saying, well, we approved it based on what you told us. Bob?
Yeah, a couple of things I don't expect you to answer now, but to address. It appears that you're creating a new curb cut on Chelmsford Street? Is that correct?
Yes.
I think you need a special permit for that, right?
Yeah, I'm having a little problem, because that can be a funny intersection, and now we've got 2 curb cuts that are relatively close to that intersection. I'm not saying one it's good or bad, but I really would feel, I think the board should ask you that, be more comfortable if we can get some feedback on that.
From the engineers department, so you might want to run that by the engineers department, sir, as well. I mean,
Chairman.
just,
Mr. Chairman, city engineer said they needed a driveway permit?
They do for paving.
Yeah.
I don't know if the city engineer is aware of this curb cut, and my understanding is that there's a curb cut now on Liberty Street that's going to disappear.
Yes.
Have you taken into consideration also any freestanding signs?
No.
'cause those are just issues that, and we would like to, for you, so you don't have to keep coming back before the board, those are the things that you want to bring up at one time, so we can take care of everything at once. I know the engineer, didn't the engineer's office comment on this, just about the driveway permit?
Driveway permit and
So I have
stormwater
to assume they saw
design.
the curb cut or the proponent's idea to extend a curb. I mean, I would have conversations with the engineer department just to make sure that, you're on the same page. You don't want to get a notice from them the night of the meeting that, they don't want that for public safety reasons or anything else. Anything else, Bob, that you saw that might help him along?
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Rick.
No, I think if he could address those in some way, shape, or form, maybe even talk to the individuals in charge of traffic over at Planning and Development, just to get an opinion from him, I'd feel more comfortable with that curb cut there if he did that.
Okay. So you've heard that, sir. So, Rick?
I think he's gonna, I think this project gonna be put into one. He has a gas station, he has, how many units in the yellow building on the corner? 6. So he's already up to 12 parking spots just there, never mind Queens for.
But he doesn't
another one.
own, like, do you own the gas station, sir? Does that matter?
They lease it, but he still needs parking for the gas station, for this building, for Queen's Pizza, 6 units. I think he needs a traffic study for the curb cut now, Mr. Chairman. He's gonna put this as a package, because you can't steal from Peter to pay Paul with parking. And like you said, if we do approve it, next thing you know, you got people yelling at everybody that he's parking in my spot, you know, there's not enough parking, how can you guys, and also, it's integrated into a neighborhood out back. So I think I don't know why the planning board or the planning department would not take a look at this and tell them what they had to do for curb cuts, for signage, for parking, and everything else. It's a large project. You're putting a big building into a small space now. I mean, it's a great project. It'll look great over there. Get rid of all them doors and stuff, those garages, but I think he's got a lot of work ahead of him for parking and stuff. I mean, we're just not talking about the new building. We have to make sure still everybody else has their parking. Queen's Pizza, the apartments, even if he says that, you know, his employees live there, you gotta, I mean, that changes too, so you need the parking for that. We can't steal parking from those buildings. And, you know, Bob had mentioned the building out back, he was willing to tear it down. Maybe he can work with planning and stuff to get it to go through, you know, the council and get it so we can have parking. I mean, what he's gonna do over there is a great thing, because it is a blight. You know, those buildings are a blight. And then, you know, the neighbors have been looking at it for years, so if we can clean it up once and for all, that'd be a great thing. But I think he needs a traffic study, he needs to get all the parking for all the businesses together, and find out about the curb cut, signage, where the signage is gonna go to advertise this business. It needs to be a package, in my opinion. That's what I'd be looking for. Everybody's come up with all good ideas, and I think that's what's needed. And to find out what it needs, a special permit or a variance.
Okay, Jack? Thanks, sir.
I agree with Mr. Bienvenu. The other thing here is identifying the specific use. You say retail hours, numbers of employees. Also, since you entered these chambers, instantly you changed what I'm presuming was your original intent of the usage of the second floor. And that usage of the second floor will also be a variable as far as the number of parking spaces. And I think that's also what Mr. Bienvenu was referring to. So when you put this project together and make the presentation, you need to specifically identify these uses, because they are going to affect the number of parking spaces. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody generally supports your idea, and I think it just needs to, it's just some fine tuning.
Details.
And I think it's gonna help your overall project, make it a better, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I'd recommend he schedule an appointment in my office with myself and the zoning officer. We can outline these things and help him line all these things up and show them the things he needs to address. As Rick was saying, this particular building, because the parking for any of the other structures aren't even showing here. And give him a better direction in which he's going into. It's a great project, and I agree. Remove that ugly building that's already there. It's probably a service that's needed and everything else, but as was said tonight, it needs to be addressed properly, like the curb cut and the traffic flow, and make sure there's enough parking. Otherwise, there'll be more parking on the streets.
Okay, that's a good idea. So would you be willing to meet with the,
Sure, I'll discuss with the,
Yeah.
but I think as far as today or tonight, we'll ask for continuous, and then you'll give me the chance to meet with the,
right, what
I
are you
believe
thinking?
the
I think our
building
next
commissioner-
scheduled meeting is gonna be December 22nd, and oftentimes that's, I don't know what we have on for that.
January 12th or 9th is the next one.
Okay, there's a meeting the 8th, but you won't make that one, so,
no, January 12th is not It's not gonna happen. What's the one after January 12th? That, I mean, because we're into the winter time, we're not looking for construction within
Right,
the
you might as well
next,
do it
2,
right.
3
You might as well
weeks,
do it
so-
right.
Yeah,
I think the board's gonna support your project, and just, you know,
I
this is called a preliminary meeting to get some feedback.
Sure.
Which is not normally the function of it, but at least in this case, it definitely helps you. When was the next one, Stephanie? After January 12th?
January 26th.
Does that give you enough time, sir, or would you like a later one?
January 26th. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
would he have to, because we've already opened it up for a variance, does he have to withdraw without prejudice, and reapply? I'm just asking the question so he doesn't get stuck where he comes in and says, well, I need a special permit now. I didn't need a variance, now he's gotta stand in front of us, withdraw, and then does he have to wait, and is there any time frame of waiting?
Good point. My understanding of it is if you find out that what you applied for is inaccurate, and you're gonna have to redo the application and re-advertise, my suggestion is you try to get on the December, well, actually not December, the first January 12th meeting, and come in and withdraw this, so we don't have this still hanging around, clean it up, and then go in on a whole new petition with all the new, suggestions that we gave you.
Right.
You know, just so you don't have one floating around and then you have to, I just don't want it to delay you. It was a good point, Rick. Do you understand? So
Yes,
if
yes. No,
you don't need a variance, and right now you're in front of us in a variance, first you have to withdraw this application and then re-advertise and present the special permit, if that's the case. And, you know, I don't want to comment on whether it is or not. I think you can, you know, run it by a zoning attorney, or, you know, feel comfortable with the recommendation from the zoning officer. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, basically, I'm good. I'll give you a call and schedule a meeting. Sure, thank you.
Okay. And before, just I don't know if anybody came to speak in favor or oppose. Is anybody here who wishes to speak in favor? This petition in favor? Hearing none, go ahead. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Paul Dubuque. I live at 22 Hovey Place, Lowell, Mass. I don't know if I'm speaking too soon because it doesn't seem like there's going to be a decision made this evening, but I'd like to speak for the character of the K-Roos family. I've been associates of them for years. I've seen other projects that they've done. As you all said, it's an eyesore that they have there right now. I see that there's a few things that need to be cleared up. There's some of you people here probably know who I am. I've been in the city for 59 years. I know I don't look that old, but...
I thought you were 70.
But I would like to say that I've seen other projects that they've done. They do a great job. They're going to improve that area. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to work with them. I'm sure they're going to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, and we'll be back.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? In favor, in opposition? Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Harandino De Silva, 28 Liberty Street, Lowell, Mass.
What was your address, sir? I'm sorry, 28?
Liberty Street.
Okay, so you're right there?
Speak against it for the reason, my house is right in back of where they're doing it. If they build this, it's gonna block my house. Right now, I lock out and I see Chancellor Street, I see the Lincoln School right across the street from this whole project they're gonna make. My whole house will be blocked off. I won't have nothing but a wall in front of me. Plus, my house and the house next door, which is 24 and 26 Liberty, we both have a right-of-way through that property over there. He builds that up, we lose our right-of-way.
He can't legally build over right away, from my understanding, sir.
According to the map we have, and the person next door now, he bought it about 5-6 years ago, which is Universal Property. He looked at his map, and I got a map too of the whole, everybody's got a piece of land, all the houses, the Queen's Pizza, the Getty Mart. I have a map of everybody's house. When I bought it from a guy named John Campbell, it came with the map. It tells everybody square footage, the right-of-way, and everything. And talking about Queen's Pizza, there's 6 units in the pizza. Sometimes I go over there, there's no place to park. You gotta park out in the street. Same thing with the Getty Mart. He's only got 4 parking spaces there. You go in the Getty Mart, you gotta park out in the street. Now he's gonna put a thing there with more parking spaces, so what? Everybody can park out in the street, and there's a school right across the street. And I got a thing here I took out from the Register of Deeds. It shows my lot, looks like my lot, his thing is right on top of my house. Here's my house right here. Here's his lot, here's the whole thing over here. Looks like he's past my lot, that I got part of his lot still here.
Well, it wouldn't do anybody any good for him to build on land he doesn't own. I mean, that would be a
Well,
huge...
you look at this from the register of deeds, what
Can you bring it up,
shows here.
sir?
Here's my house, and I got the right of way here, with this guy here and right here, and it all comes out here, and here's the garage, and all been abandoned all those years.
Okay, this isn't a plan of land, so this is what you get off the internet, right?
Yeah,
From the
yeah,
GIS, okay.
yeah.
So what,
Look at my house, that's the one blocked in. Look at how his, my house gonna be, back of the whole thing is gonna be all blocked off.
well, I think my concern is what you said about the right-of-way. So what I would suggest that you do is, get the plan of land from the registry, and that will tell you if there's any right-of-way. Right-of-ways also should be recorded.
I have one at home that says, there's a right of way for me and a right of way for the guy next door, which he only owns the house, he rents it out, Universal Property,
Okay.
24 and 26 Liberty.
Well, why don't we give the applicant a chance to address this issue, because if they, I don't know, obviously they have to have done a title there.
Will I be informed for the next time?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna tell you. You'll know when the meeting is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay? And if you, sir, if you're not done, if you'd like to say anything else, you can,
No, basically, I want to get rid of that eyesore that's there.
right,
There's holes in the roof you can put a truck through.
right, I know.
And every time I walk my backyard, there's like a wall of 8 feet cement. I'm up high, and I look down. It's all like a jungle in the summertime. There's a skunk that used to grow above my fence, 5 feet high, like all around. And the kids go in there. Everybody goes in the garage. They take the urinate. That's a urinate place. Everybody goes in get gas, and they go back there and urinate. Come out there, I'm looking at everything. I complain, but nobody ever did anything about it.
But wouldn't this help your,
Yes, it would, but the idea is, I wanna know about my right of way, if it's gonna be blocked off, and if I'm gonna have a huge building in front of my house. Like they talked about one floor, wouldn't bother me, but 2 floors, it does bother me, 2 floors.
Okay.
It also bothers all the other neighbors. They all say they're gonna come, and they're all start drinking if they get to come.
this happens to all of us. Sir, can you, tell us a little bit about the, right-of-way, if the one I mean, that's, obviously, your client has a huge problem if there's a right-of-way there.
Right. I do have a survey plan here that was prepared based on instrumental survey and research at the Registry of Deed.
Right.
It would show any right-of-way that is on the property. I'm not showing any right-of-way here.
Okay.
But again, we will check.
Yeah, I mean, have a
Yeah,
title
well-
run, have some, I mean, that's, you could end up losing
I understand.
lot of money.
I understand.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would.
this is a stamp, yeah, this is prepared by a registered land surveyor, it's not, but
Right.
again, we check the deeds, I'll double check on that, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sir, if you have any paperwork, show,
Here's how it goes, that Queen's Pizza. and
you
the house-
please have to address from the microphone, just so that they're all listening at home.
Queen's Pizza in the other house next to me, 24 and 26 Liberty Street, those were like the original houses. My house used to be a barn. In 1948, they converted my house from a barn to a house. And that's how, when they built that, that's how come I got more land than all of them through the whole house, because they used a tree in that barn that was there as a boundary. And then they built the other houses going down in back of the abandoned garage, which is a set of garages on this side, and there's one goes this way. My house is right in back of the whole thing, my backyard. And when I first bought the house in 1980, there was a set of steps for me to go from my backyard through there. The other people used to live next door, which became my godparents to my daughter, they used to use that all the time. When Universal Property bought it, he decided to put up a stockade fence there, because he didn't know. Now I talked to him, he says, hey, we both have a right of way over there. I got a map. I said, so do I. That's as far as we got. I mean, I don't know if he didn't come down and complain, if he was too busy, or if he forgot.
Okay, who is that?
Universal Properties, they own the house next door to me, which is 24,
But who is the
26.
gentleman you're talking about? Who is it?
That owns the property?
Yeah.
It's Universal Properties.
Okay. Is there
It's
anybody?
up on Middlesex Street, across the street from Heaven's Car Wash.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dubuque, would you like to address the board? You get,
I just happen to know, FYI, Universal Properties is Kenny Kaiser. That's
Yeah.
all that.
Oh, okay. All right, there's University Properties, I think, and Universal, so that's Kenny Kaiser?
The University. I know that two families, yes.
Okay.
Wait, right here? Thank you.
All right, so that's another issue that, I mean, of all the issues, that's a big issue. If there's a right-of-way there, it would seem to me that it's easy to find out. So we're talking about a continuance for January, what, Stephanie? Okay, and that's satisfactory to you, sir? Sir, does that work for you?
Yes.
20, would be continuing this now until January 26th, so the applicant could do some more due diligence and try to look into this. Gives you time to try to figure
I
out.
don't have any problem. The only problem I got is having a second story. I'm gonna be blocked right in. I won't be able to see nothing but a house in front of me. And the other thing is the right of way.
Okay.
As far as the eyesore, I'd like to get rid of the eyesore.
Right, and I'd suggest, sir, if you give him your card, if you guys can speak and try to work something out, it's even, it makes it easier for us.
Absolutely.
Okay, I need a motion to, any other discussion on this? Okay, I need a motion to continue until January 26th.
Motion to continue to January 26th.
Okay. I need a second.
Second motion.
Roll call, please.
Continue to January 26th.
Thank you.
Continue until January 26th.
Continue to January 26th.
Continue.
Continue.
And before we record it, I think there was somebody wants to make a comment.
May I? I don't know if this helps or hurts, just to clarify something. The convenience store is presently in the gas station. The convenience store is moving, so as far as additional parking, it's going to be the same amount of traffic going through there because the convenience store is moving from the gas station to the new building.
Okay, so just make that clear at your next time, sir, okay? All right, so we have unanimous vote to continue this until January 26th. So this matter's been continued unanimously until January 26th. There's not going to be any further notice to anybody wishing to speak or anybody who has any interest in this petition. So January 26th, 6:30 here. There'll be no further notices, and we'll see you then, sir. If you have any questions, I encourage you to talk to the building department, try to get things worked out. If you can, also address your issues with the neighbor or address his issues. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Commissioner, anything else?
I think you should take a look at the schedule. As of now, we have one item scheduled for December, you have one item scheduled for December 8th, and that's a revisit from 953 Central, confirming compliance, which is something we need to address because it appears that we've addressed that in the wrong fashion. December 22nd, there is nothing scheduled for that meeting, and we have a meeting scheduled for January 13th. And I don't know if there's anything scheduled then. It's the 8th, December 8th, and December 22nd.
Okay, so what I would suggest we do as a board, if everybody's willing, is we do not have a meeting, we do not meet December 8th, since obviously there's nothing to do except for Central Street, and you can handle that internally. And instead of the vote that we took, I guess we can put that as a memorandum of, on Central Street.
Yes, I'd like to address that a little bit further on in some of my other comments.
Okay. And I guess the next meeting, the 22nd, there doesn't appear to be anything on for that, so if we agree now that that's right before the holidays, why don't we discuss the next agreement being January 12th. Anybody have any opposition to that? Okay, so the next regular scheduled meeting will be January 12th. The only one thing, Bob, we do have something on for the 8th that we don't want to make sure the applicant or the property owner does not have to appear that day because we won't be here.
I will make it a point to address it because we requested not only the applicant, the tenant, but the owner of the
Right.
building as well. And I will see that they're notified.
Okay.
The other item that the chairman and I discussed a little bit, and I handed out a copy of, in order to expedite and help folks with their applications, in front of you, there's a staple sheet says Notice of ZBA Approval. What we'd like to do is what we recommend doing is implementing this sort of a cheat sheet so that when an applicant is approved, all the steps, the next steps are in place. Originally, it was, on the second page is what it originally looked like. But in speaking with the chairman, we thought if we did it in sort of a bulleted format, it would help them to have a better handle on what the next steps would be in the process once they received approval. So at the end of the evening, they would actually take this document with them, and they could follow this procedure.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. The one that's numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Versus what's on the second page, I agree. It says, it's funny, but they both say the same thing, but the first page is much clearer. Step
It's
1,
much
2,
more
3, and
official
4.
looking, something that's not going to get mixed up with their other, they throw it on the kitchen table, that just looks like, something your kid brings home from school, but this would be perfect, I think.
This is critical, because if they miss a step, they could be jeopardizing their approvals.
Right.
So, with the board's permission, we'd like to recommend that the board implement this.
Okay, so everybody have a chance to look at it? All in favor of implementing the first one with the numbered bullets? All in favor, say aye.
Aye, sir.
Okay, so we'll do that, Bob, very good. That's going to help a lot. And go ahead.
The other item I have, which is sort of related to the, well, it is related to 953 Central Street. If you look at this document that came down as an opinion from the law department, what we should be doing is pretty much following the procedures in place for addressing complaints. If someone receives approval from the board, and somewhere down the line we find them non-compliant with the conditions that were set forth by this board, if a complaint or an issue comes up or we're asked to address it, we would visit the site to confirm that there is a problem there and that they are being non-compliant. At that point in time, we would ask the tenant or the owner to correct the non-compliance and give them a period of time that's appropriate to fix it. If it's not fixed, then it appears that the only one that can implement any fines would be actually my department and not this board. So at that point in time, we would implement the fines for non-compliance and we would move forward, and if at some point we need to take them to court, we would. At first, it's probably just a non-criminal complaint, but if the fines are not paid, then it automatically becomes a criminal complaint. If the applicant or the owner of the property disagrees with any findings from the building department and that they feel as though they're in compliance and we feel as though they are not, then they have the right to come to this board to appeal my decision. Then the board makes a decision to either hold up my decision based on the evidence both parties present or either approve what we've decided or side with the applicant if they felt the applicant was correct.
Okay, I think I think we were definitely on the wrong page last time when we did that. So
Correct.
This helps clarify. What I would suggest we do, the first thing that we just approved, that application is great because I think it clarifies everything for us. If we could also have a 2-page attachment that we, 1 page on top of that we hand out to everybody that gets approved, that could say consequences of noncompliance or issues of noncompliance. I know it might take some time to develop that, so we could say, in the event that you as the applicant does not comply, the following steps shall be taken. So they're aware of it, and they can't come in and say they didn't know. And then we'll treat every issue of noncompliance the same exact way as it states there. Do you know what I mean? And I know that's going to take some drafts, and we're going to have to work on it, but I think that might be a good idea because it just clarifies it.
Exactly, because these conditions are really important because they set the pace and the stage and the parameters under which any permits are granted or variances are granted. And I think if they know that up front, I think they're better off because the penalties can be very, very expensive, not to mention the fact that you may have the option of withdrawing or avoiding any approvals this board has given.
Okay.
So we could add to that, and I'll compile a sheet explaining that to the applicant, that it's how important it is for them to be in compliance with whatever conditions the board sets forth.
I think that just helps the applicants, it helps us, it makes it easier for you because they're aware of it.
I think with that being said, exercising due diligence, if you will, I'm going to revisit the 953 Central Street and look at that and make sure we approach that in the proper fashion.
Okay.
And if they decide to challenge any conditions, any fines that I impose, if I find any non-compliance issues, then they're free to appeal my decision to the board, and then we move on from there.
Okay. That definitely clarifies it for me because I had no idea.
The other issue that came up, and we had talked in the past about the fees that are in place. One of the fees that's not there, and very much related to the issue we just spoke of, would be appealing to this board. There is no fee on our sheet, on our fee schedule at the very bottom. It says an appeal of a decision made by the building department, in this case myself, the building commissioner, but we have no fee next to that. There is an administrative cost to doing that, and it's my recommendation this board consider putting a fee next to that particular item, which would be an appeals for anything, not just for they're in a disagreement because I'm saying they're not in compliance, but I could refuse a building permit, then they have the right to appeal to this board to contest that. And they have a right to go to the state and do that as well. But right now, there is no fee there. The fee, the dollar amount is actually substituted by some language which says fines, et cetera, but that's inappropriate. What should be put there would be a fee to appeal a decision by the building department.
Can I ask a question, and maybe it's just because I'm thinking legally? If they appeal, if you give them a negative decision, and they appeal it, and we overturn your decision, should they still have to pay? I mean, that almost seems like as a matter of right, they never should have had to gone through the trouble to appeal. I mean, I'm looking at it in a legal context, not so much as, something going before the ZBA. But it appears to me out of fairness, if it was something that we overturned, if that's the word, then why should they have to pay for something that should have been granted originally?
Well, then I would suggest that's a question we should pose to the law department and ask and get some feedback from them.
Right, okay, because I'm sure whatever, in all these other towns, it's probably done in, a similar manner. And a lot of times, you'll give them a decision, and we'll overturn it on something that you were right in your decision, but we'll overturn it on another issue. And in that instance, yes, they should have to pay for the appeal.
I think what we should do is, like I say, get some feedback from the law department on that one, which way it
Okay,
should
and you can
go.
request an opinion on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have one last item with regards to fees. If we have one of the questions that came up, if there are 3 variances and 2 special permits for one particular parcel, should the fee remain at the set amount of $100 or $150, whatever it is, or should we, if there are 2 variances, the fee would be doubled or tripled if there are 3 variances? I think at this point, the most appropriate way to go, my recommendation is to leave it the way it is. If it's 1 parcel, 1 variance, or 3 variants, leave it at whatever that fee is set. However, if you have a piece of land that's being subdivided, and they're looking for a variance on each of the new lots, and they're looking for variance on each of the new lots, we're talking ultimately 2 different parcels, even though they hadn't legally been separated yet, subdivided. I think in that particular case, there should be a fee for each parcel, just to avoid any confusion down the road, which would be an advantage to the applicant, so that each parcel has attached to it that particular variance or that special permit.
Yeah, I
whatever.
agree. I think everybody agree with that?
In that situation, we feel as though that would be the way to go. On a single lot, a single parcel, if there are 3 variances, leave it at the 1 fee, and that should take care of the administrative costs of folks coming in. Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
You wouldn't have to wait for the motion.